Hey, this is Professor Game, where we interview successful practitioners of games, gamification, and game thinking who bring us the best of their experiences to get ideas, insights, and inspiration that help us in the process of getting the students to learn what we teach. And I'm Rob Alvarez. I work at IE Business School Publishing, where we create interactive and engaging learning materials. Do you have something you'd like some help with? Ask our guests. Go to professorgame.com/question and get your question answered in a future episode. And hello, engagers. This is a very interesting episode because we're getting back to Monica Cornetti. And if you haven't already, I would suggest you to also listen to the episode we did, like the traditional episode, because today we're going to be talking about the conference that Monica is organizing in Chicago, which is GamiCon. So Monica, the first thing that we always ask is, are you prepared to engage?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. That's good.
Let's do this. So, Monica, as we're going to be talking in this special episode today, we're going to be talking about the conference that you're organizing in Chicago. So let's start up right at the top by asking you about where we can find out more information about GamiCon, about Monica. Can you give us those, social media handles, websites, etc.?
Okay, so GamiCon, you can find more information about GamiCon at gamicon.us. So it's GAMICON.us. That'll give you all the information about the speakers and the schedule and what kind of experiences you can expect to have. You'll find out there different podcasts that we have been doing with the different speakers about their topics. And so if you want to start diving into the learning beforehand and start thinking about what specifically you want to get from the event, you can find all of that at gamicon.us. And Sententia Gamification, which is my company, is actually sponsoring GamiCon, and it's a co-located event with Training Magazine. Training Magazine are friends and colleagues who we've worked with for numerous years now on different events that they've held. So Training Magazine has a fantastic reputation in the learning community for their conferences, but also their information that they put out on a regular basis. And they have awards that are given annually, and it's quite prestigious to win a Training Magazine award and be considered one of the top 125 for organizations as far as their training. And one of the great things about GamiCon is that we are having a gamification throwdown, which we'll come back to it, but you will actually win a Training Magazine award if you're one of the five. We have 5 different categories so if you do win one of those, you'd actually be a Training Magazine award. But you can find out more about the gamification designs that we do at sententiagamification.com. And then if you're just interested in me, then it's Monica, just me, no one else. MonicaCornetti.com is my website. And of course, connect with me on Twitter at Monica Cornetti.
Monica is very active on Twitter, so I would certainly recommend following Monica as well.
And it's one of those that we've been, we were talking about it earlier, Rob, that because I'm so high curious motivated, I'm always finding fascinating things in my Twitter feed that and what I'm looking for is those things that I haven't been exposed to before. And it's like, oh, what are they doing? How are they doing that? So it's great to connect out on Twitter because I do love to learn what other people are doing in L&D and employee engagement and gamification. There's always more to learn.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. I love Twitter as well. So Monica, I'm not going to make the introduction. If people want to know more details about you, for sure they can go to your episode. I seem to believe it's episode 8. So it would be professorgame.com/podcast/008. If you want to listen to Monica's episode, which is fantastic. There she talks about her experiences, her favorite failure, her favorite challenge, her process. She talks about many things. So I would really encourage you to listen as well to that episode, which is very, very interesting. But today we're going to get right into GamiCon. So the first question that I have, Monica, is what motivated you to create something like GamiCon? Because I have to say that I know from very near people I have that organizing a conference is not an easy thing. It takes a lot of your time, your energy, your efforts. So I really thank you for doing this. But I would like to know as well what motivated you to go into such an interesting task.
Well, thanks for asking that, because yes, it does take a lot of time and energy. Fortunately, I'm not a total novice in this area. We've designed numerous types of events over the years for speakers and trainers and train the trainer type events. So I started doing those actually in 2008. And so I have experience in planning conferences. This, of course, is a new level, but specifically gamification, because it's really moved past just that periphery of learning and development. It's not hanging out there in the outside anymore. It's really moved into best practices for design and delivery. And here in the United States, the last gamification conference of note, of a significant gamification conference, was actually Gabe Zickerman's G Summit that he held in 2014. And there wasn't a whole lot of L&D going on there or employee facing. It was really more about social and customer facing, which was great. That was fantastic content. But as in most gamification, only about 10 to 12% is actually focused on employee facing or adult education. And that's where Sententia Gamification's focus lies. So on top of that, we have a World Congress of Gamification that was a yearly event that was held in Spain. And that would draw practitioners from around the world. You remember that, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yes,
I
okay.
miss it as well because I am currently in Madrid, so I do miss having
Yeah.
something very nearby to just, drop.
And it was a world-class event. It was a wonderful event. I got to go in 2006. I can't even remember now. 2015. 2016 we had to miss because by the time they had it scheduled, we were already booked. 2017, I blocked out my entire November. I'm not scheduling anything until I find out when World Congress is. And then it ended up not happening. And they did have a Gamification Europe, but when we realized that the World Conference wasn't happening, we went ahead and opened up the schedule. And of course, it got full. And so I missed Gamification Europe. But all that back to say is that there's not been in the States or internationally something that is specifically for the L&D professionals, who specifically designed for adult learners. And that is why we approached Training Magazine, and we proposed to them that we would do a co-located event with them, and they loved the idea. I mean, I actually thought I was going to have to sell it a little bit more, but I mean, they were wide open to it from the very beginning. So, we entered into an agreement with them, and they're so gracious. It's a wonderful group of people who run Training Magazine, and we are honored that they would work with us in coordinating this co-located event. So their online learning conference will be October 8th through 10th, and our GamiCon will be October 6th through 8th. So you could go right from GamiCon into their online learning conference if you wanted to be part of the whole event.
Which
And
I
then
must say I will certainly do.
Yes, because Rob's going to be part of the online learning conference. He's going to have a space in what's their training kitchen. What is it called?
Training test kitchen, I
Test. I
think.
knew there was another T because I'm calling it TTK. That's how and I'm like, what's the other T? Technology? No, that's not right. It's training test kitchen. That's right. So Rob's actually going to be participating in that, which is exciting. So and then actually Steve Dahlberg, who is a friend and colleague who works with Training Magazine, he's actually going to start an event on October 10th that it runs a couple days, which is innovations in training. And that just blows the roof off of everything, because you're not in one location for any period of time. You'll actually go all around Chicago to different cutting edge. When I've participated in that in the past, it's all the latest medical and military, and just really forward thinking what's going on out there, what's the next steps in training and development. So it's a whole week. You could stay in Chicago the entire week if you wanted to, and we hope that you do. But specifically, very specifically, the 6th through the 8th as part of GamiCon.
Definitely, definitely, and that was I think you've partially answered or mostly answered. What does GamiCon differentiate from other conferences? Because I agree that there used to be the Gamification World Congress. As far as I understand, it's not going to be happening again in the near future as it used to. They have like a new edition, which I was invited to last year very graciously, but it's very interesting. It's very cool, but it's a completely different focus. The objectives are very different. The idea of the conference is very different. So that's like, in a way, it's gone. G Summit, as far as I know, is completely gone. And there's definitely a space to be filled. And I won't get tired of thanking you for this, because last year, I when they organized Gamification Europe, I was very thankful for that team who organized such a wonderful conference and are doing it again. I understand that you participated as well in the Gamification Europe Masterclass, which I'm sure was fantastic. It's going to be a phenomenal training. But by the time that we launch this live, you'll probably have already done that training, which I'm sure will be phenomenal, Monica. But in line with what you were saying, there's a need, an open need for the specifically the learning and development community, who is starting to spin a lot. I agree with you around gamification and what we can learn from games and game design. And there's a very interesting need. So I completely agree with your answer, and we just wanted to reinforce what you said. But regarding is there anything else you would like to say that makes GamiCon different, not only from gamification conferences, but maybe even from other L&D conferences? What makes it different? What's interesting about GamiCon in that sense?
Well, for one thing, and probably the most, is that it's actually going to be gamified, that it's not a conference where you're going to go sit there with the lights out in an auditorium and listen to speaker after speaker after speaker. I'm going to advise you to come prepared to play full out for 2 days, because this is all about you. Our goal is that it's going to be a meaningful learning experience to you. And I can tell you, when I tell people what my goal is, I can see their eyebrows raise a little bit, and they're like, that's not possible, Monica. But my goal for this event is that it's 100% relevant for 100% of the people that attend this conference. And the only way to make that happen is to be strategic about how the conference is designed and give every participant the opportunity to reflect and assimilate, peel it apart, put it back together. How is what I just heard relevant for what I'm doing in L&D or adult education or HR? And so, again, it's exclusively for the design and delivery of corporate training and adult learning and employee motivation and culture change. And so we're designing it that everything is relevant to every attendee, so that they can take content back and start to apply some of it right away. And of course, some will be a longer process of design and development, but that they feel like this was not only impactful for their professional development, but it also was a ton of fun along the way, which, if it's not fun, why are we doing it anymore? I don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And along those same lines that you were explaining, there's a gamified situation around the whole conference. I would like to know if you can, because I've seen the schedule and it sounds very, very interesting and very varied as well. There's many moving pieces. So can you tell us which are like the different parts of the conference, so to speak? What are the different, so to speak, you have the workshops, you have the gamification project throwdown. I'm not sure if I'm getting those right, but what are those like different parts and different things that people will be able to find in GamiCon?
You're right. There are a ton of moving parts. And what is going to be the cohesive thread that goes the whole way through is that we're actually working with Bernardo Latafe of Blue Rabbit. And Blue Rabbit won the 2017 award for gamification software.
Yes.
And he is actually designing an engagement app with us for the event, which he will then He's already been able to do it with an event that he did last week before last. And this is now going to be a commercial application, which is also, I said to Bernardo, if I was a conference app that touted that I am a gamified conference app, I'd be scared right now because Bernardo's not talking. He's not like talking trash. The guy has developed a gamified engagement app that's not about how many posts you put out there on Twitter and how many reposts. And it's about engaging the learners and taking them on a journey so they feel that sense of progression that is part of gamification. They experience it themselves. So at the conference, they'll understand different components of gamification because they'll be experiencing it. So with the moving parts, it starts off on Saturday.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah,
Bernardo was actually, as I said, you were episode 8. Bernardo was episode 11. So if you go to professorgame.com/podcast/011, you'll be able to listen as well to Bernardo talk about exactly the software that Monica is talking about. So,
and it's so Bernardo is just one of those, Rob. You just know he's one of those that first off, he has boundless energy, and
definitely
like the nicest person on the planet. Sharp, creative. Like we were just talking through different gamification components, and he comes up with more in 30 seconds of creative ideas that, you're just like, bam, 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 bam. And it's fascinating to work with him, a pure delight, pure delight. So I would encourage you to take a listen to that. Episode 11. That's good. Very good. So you asked me about the moving parts.
Yes.
And Saturday night, we're starting off with fun and application. So we're doing a kickoff party that to get to know each other. When we've done conferences in the past, I have found that it always works best for people who do get in the night before, that they get an opportunity to start meeting some people, start to perhaps build a tribe that they can hang. A lot of people come, they'll be coming from all over the globe, traveling alone. It takes a lot of courage to go to events for some people. It's a strange place, strange city. And so we always, for our events, do something fun on the night before the sessions. The formal sessions always start. And so we're going to be at this really great brewery. It's called Motor Row Brewery, and it's on what is Chicago's old Motor Row. So this is where all like the car dealerships and manufacturers used to be, and a lot of it still is in decay down in that area. It's not been what do they call gentrified? Urbanization hasn't happened. There's a couple blocks where it has, and Motor Row Brewery is in that block. So I don't want you to be feeling scared like, well, I'm not going. That doesn't sound good what I just said. But Motor Row, so it took over one of these old factory buildings, and they've got the brewery there. And so we're going to, we're going to have like a Chicago experience with Chicago hot dogs and pizza and the beer. But we're also having Michiel van Ewen from Amsterdam come in, and he is going to lead a pop-up escape room. So you'll get to experience the pop-up escape room and then also be able to apply, now, how can I use this in what I'm doing? Can I create a pop-up escape room? Is this something that could be recreated back in my workplace? So that's Saturday night, October 6th. Sunday morning, we start early with gamification. It's called Passions and Possibilities is Sunday morning. There'll be a few 20-minute presentations from some gamification masters from across the globe, and a chance for you to get to assimilate that. We'll have hands-on learning quests. Those will be self-selected. You'll choose a 45-minute session where you'll actually get in and start doing some experimentation with some gamification. We're going to have the project throwdown. So these are people who have applied for their project to be evaluated to win an award, a gamification project for adult education or employee engagement. And we have 5 different categories that their project can be entered into. They'll be judged, and that happens on Sunday. We also are not doing like a vendor hall. There's not going to be vendor halls with booze and swags. We actually are having ambassadors who are from different gamification platforms and applications and tools and game development, and they are going to be there as part of the entire event. But on Sunday afternoon, we are going to uh, with an interactive progress map. We're going to go on an ambassador adventure. So you're going to get to experience with each of these ambassadors, whatever platform or service or product that they have. You'll We're going to go on this adventure for a couple hours on Sunday afternoon, because again, most times people are wondering, but what does it look like? How does this apply to me? What can I use from this? And so I want them to actually have conversations with industry experts who can help them solve those problems. And then to top out the day, if you still have any energy left at the end of the day, John Chen from
Bernardo will for sure.
Yeah, but this is so much fun because I've got to do one of these in Seattle. But John Chen, who is the founder and CEO of GeoTeaming, which is a Seattle company, he is actually designing for us a geoteaming event. So if you've never done a geoteaming event, you'll work on a team, and the course has already been mapped out, and so your team's given like 20 different spots that you have to figure out the geolocation of it. There's some clues along the way, so your team works together on strategy and figuring out the clues. Then your team goes to this location and you verify that you found it, what this item was, and you snap your pictures and you upload those. And so there's a whole geoteaming app that will be involved with this. And so it's all about problem solving and leadership and time constraints, because the way it's set up is you can't possibly hit all of the 20. And one of the main components is you have to get back to the final location before time is out, or you end up losing half of the points that you've gained over the event. So you've got to be very strategic in it. It's a ton of fun, even for someone low physically motivated like me. Like the idea of running around, it does not interest me, but it's fun because you are with your team. You get your choose your team name, you've got a team cheer, and our last location where we all have to end up is a historic site in Chicago called Reggie's. And Reggie's is an old rock and roll bar. I mean, like anybody in blues and rock and roll has played at Reggie's. And Reggie's has a really nice rooftop location that's covered. So no matter what the weather's like in Chicago in October, we're going to have an after party there. So we'll celebrate with food and drink and award prizes to the winner and watch a video of all that happened throughout the night. So that's Sunday alone. And then Monday.
It sounds like a whole conference. So that's just one day.
Yeah, Monday we'll do some more 20-minute quick shots with some L&D, adult learning, and see what they've actually implemented. And then we're going to do a 2-hour gamification design sprint with Marigo. And then we'll get to do self-selected teams on some serious design build workshops. And Rob, you're leading one of those. Rob's going to be bringing some of his already designed interactive gamified materials. And you'll be able to, if you choose Rob's session in that 2-hour design build workshop, to see how you could implement those into your program. We'll end out the day kind of early on Monday. It ends at 4:00. We'll actually move into Training Magazine's Training Test Kitchen, and we'll be a part of that. We'll get to experience that. And also the Gamification Project Throwdown winners will be announced and awarded their recognition and their trophy.
It sounds like a very fantastic thing. And one thing I love about what you're describing, Monica, is the variety of things that are there. Because even if you can say, well, this part of the conference, I don't enjoy it too much. Well, it doesn't mean that there's going to be a day and a half of that thing that you don't enjoy as much as the rest. There's going to be a variety of things. And there's always, we always talk about the different player types. and finding out who your users are. And for sure, I mean, if something doesn't cater specifically to your kind of player, there's many other things that are going to be around that will for sure cater to what your interests are. And I wanted to jump in just for a second here, because maybe you're thinking, but Professor Game is mostly talking about always education and higher education and K-12, etc. But I and fully support what Monica is saying, not only because it's also about learning, and learning, it doesn't matter. I mean, of course, the player types might be different, and there's differences that are fundamental. But the way that we target learning, not only in adults, but children, young adults, etc., is always important to have a way and to see examples. And what one of the main reasons I created this podcast is to inspire you engagers, using ideas, experts, people who are experts on their areas, to inspire you to be able to do the things that they do, to do it yourselves. And that's exactly what you can do at a conference. So I would really, really encourage you, if you have the possibility to be in Chicago in October, I would really, really encourage you, and maybe we can even do something special for those of you who are there to talk about. I would love to meet you if you're there, if you're a listener of this episode or any of the episodes. I'd love to meet you in person if we haven't already. And that's what the reason why we're talking about this conference. I just wanted to jump in for that, Monica, just in case somebody is wondering, well, maybe this is not exactly what I'm looking for, but that's the reason. And I'm convinced that this is something that has been very useful. And I have to say that in my journey, listening to people like Monica, listening to people that are into the employee engagement, that are into the employee training, etc., has been a lot of inspiration for the things that we create regularly. So that's my my in point here, Monica.
Yeah, and like you're saying, everything's not for everyone. And again, what can we do to help make it relevant? So like with that geo-teaming event, it's only an hour long, and we're talking of like a total of about a half a mile of walking. Like when I did the Seattle
very
one,
manageable.
Yeah, very manageable. But if you really didn't even want to do that much, you could still take a Lyft or an Uber over to Reggie's, which is it's literally like 0.4 of a mile from where we'll be at McCormick Place West. And you could go hang out at Reggie's and be part of the after party and the socialization, even if you didn't want to do the actual geo-teaming. So again, everything is not for everyone, but we do want to have. So one of our main things that we do at Sententia is think about surprise and delight. So I have a whole group working on surprise and delight components. So one of the things that we're going to have is what we're calling Collaboration Corner. And Collaboration Corner is going to be an area with comfortable chairs, relaxing, maybe some wall charts to draw on, some tables you could sit down with somebody, but specifically so that people can, like, let's just say that I'm thinking I need a mentor in this area, and you actually are somebody who has had some experience in that. Well, Collaboration Corner is going to be a place where you and I could sit down one-on-one and talk through challenges I've been having, solutions you've found to that in the past, and how it might work for me. We're going to have a graffiti wall where people can share ideas and meet new people and start to network with people, because people are coming from across the globe to this event, and you'll be able to expand your network globally, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal opportunity for sure in that sense.
I think what you'll agree with, Rob, is that I don't think I've met anyone in the gamification network that I don't like.
Me neither.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that you're drawn to more than others, but everyone is generous with their knowledge. They, we have a little bit of competition, but it's always friendly competition. Nothing is, it's not anything that's a negative. It's something that makes us all better, right? That's what any competition should do is just, how can it make me better at what I do? And so the chance to interact and see what people are doing in different industries, I find that I get my best ideas from industries I'm not familiar with, because I will say, what are you doing? I remember when I was administrator at a large not-for-profit, I had, as part of that, we had this whole children's area that we needed to um, equip and manage, and totally unrelated. My kids were young and were playing baseball, and one of their best friends got lobbed in the head. He's a pitcher, and when the kid hit the ball, it hit him in the head, knocked him unconscious. He had to go to a local hospital, blah, blah, blah. We spent the night to go make sure and go see him afterwards and see if his parents needed help, and he was fine. He recovered fine. But we walked into this hospital that the children's wing was totally interactive. It had been designed from somebody from Walt Disney, who along the walls you would have buttons you would push, and the horse would pop its head out and talk to you. And I mean, it was, I was there with these three like 10, 11-year-old boys. We spent like a day practically on this children's wing interacting. And I was like, this is what we need to do back at what I was trying to do at the nonprofit where I was working, totally unrelated, had nothing, I would not have been there if it hadn't been for the accident. And it was one of the best things that I've ever had the opportunity to experience and then reproduce in our way at our not-for-profit. So
Monica, who
yeah.
who is going to be that? That was my next question, and it's very related to what you're saying. Is I wanted to know who will be in GamiCon. Of course, the speakers will be there. What are the profiles of people that you're expecting? Who are you inviting, especially? Who's going to be there in Gamification Con? What would we expect as participants in such a conference?
So there'll be all different industries represented. We've got like manufacturing, the hospitality, like food, lodging, even which is really fun, like beer and wine and alcohol, like the different certifications for that. So we've got people from that whole hospitality. We've got finance and banking, which of course is big, real estate, transportation, health and medical, and also, like you said, typically yours is more towards school. We have a whole, we have different presenters who are coming from, like we have someone from Brown University. We have Miari Andrea, who is from Western University of Health Sciences. He's their Director of Educational Technology and Innovation. David Chandris, who is now at, he just recently moved to a new university. So the work that he's done at the university level. So education and academic institutions, because when we're talking about adult learners, the principles are the same. It may have to be rolled out somewhat differently if it's a university rather than corporate training, but it's still the same principles.
Yes, and that's exactly my point.
Yeah, and then also some, of course, independent consultants. So those people who design, develop for their clients, and any number of roles there. So that could be like you're the actual facilitator. You do instructor-led. Even though it's an online learning conference, there's still people who do a lot of blended. So they're doing virtual as well as like a face-to-face. Instructional designers and developers, IT, chief learning officers, training managers. So it's the whole circle of
of all the job titles and people who could be interested in this. And I think it's a very exciting place to be at, precisely because of the diversity, all of the things that could happen in such a conference, all the people that you could meet. Again, draw inspiration from people who are doing things, people who are thinking of doing things and are not yet doing, having a collaboration corner, as Monica was mentioning. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to meet all of these people that will be at the conference. And Monica, I think we've talked about this before, but do you have a main theme for the conference?
Yes, I do, Rob. Thanks for asking me. That's great. And it's Bernardo, when we started working on the app and what we were going to do for it, he's like, what's your objective? What's your theme? And I actually have to say and give credit that I'm not stealing it, but it's if you are familiar with the work of the Heath brothers, Chip and Dan Heath, their work, it's kind of life-changing. Like when I read Switch for the first time, it's one of those books that the information, the content about getting people to change and how that, that huge elephant that's our emotions is fighting against our reason, which is the little rider on top of this elephant, and how you have to, you need both of them for change to happen. Well, Chip and Dan wrote a book called The Power of Moments. And as I was reading that book, again, it's life-changing for those of us in L&D, because here's a reality. First off, people only remember, no matter who you are and how great your content is, they really only remember about 10% of what you say. Unfortunately, we don't know what 10% they're going to remember. So we think that this is the most important, and I want them to remember this, but they remember a joke you told or something you said that usually there's some emotion attached to it. That's why they remember it. So the theme is defining moments to create meaningful learning experiences. And the message behind that is, what can we do strategically so that our learners do remember those things that are really important for them to remember? How can we design? Here's a reality. People remember beginnings and endings, and then they'll remember peaks and valleys along the journey. So that's our goal, is to create peaks and valleys for our learners throughout GamiCon, for our attendees there, so that they can think through, how can I create these meaningful learning experiences back in my workplace? Have you read it, Rob? Did you read it?
I am around 35% of the book. I'm reading it in Kindle edition, and it's fantastic. I have to say it's phenomenal. There's many things to draw from that book. There's practical experiences. There's ideas of things that, like, especially around the precisely the concept of moments. How do you get people to change? How do you get people to learn something very specific? There is a chapter that starts with a warning and says, if you're very, very, I don't know, you don't like cursing and that kind of stuff, just jump to the next chapter, because here it's going to be about something you won't enjoy. It was a lot of fun, but beyond the cursing or not cursing, the learnings there are very, very, very powerful. I mean, for me, that's one of the highlights of what I've read up until now. That chapter is defining for me, because it puts the things in a way that is easy to understand and easy to relate to. And especially, it's something that I'm trying to apply right now. I'm going to be teaching a course in fall around precisely the conference. And there's many things that I want to apply precisely from those learnings in that book, and it's been phenomenal, Monica. I have to say it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that and the same thing. There's so much to devour in there. I mean, and you can't devour it. It's like crockpot cooking, right? You have to read it, and then I've got to let it simmer and percolate for a little bit, because I don't know, it's only like a 200-page book, but still the amount of, well, it might be closer to 300, but the content is so, and it's just Chip and Dan Heath. That's what they produce. That's what kind of books that they write. So combine that power of moments with thought processes like fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And for change to happen, we've got to have people with a growth mindset. Unfortunately, most of us have a fixed mindset, because we don't even realize we have a fixed mindset. We're not even aware of it. So how can we push past a fixed mindset, and how can we help our learners? And there's so many techniques and strategies that we can use. And again, it's just being aware of them and then making it relevant for us. Okay, I understand that. Now, what am I going to do with that? I understand that. What am I going to do about it?
Jumping a step back to what you were saying before, Monica, I've been to many trainings that we have in the university for the classes, etc. And one of the things that called back to me when you said it is, there's a process that we sometimes have to do, especially when you teach in graduates, and I mean, it happens as well in adult learning, is that you have something that's already there. There's an information or ideas that are already there, and they might be wrong. And the thing is that the person somebody and you and me and everybody to accept that the information and the ideas that you have are actually wrong is super difficult. So there is this process that this professor called, you have to unfree freeze that information so that you can move it, that like the ideas where you're at, you can move it somewhere else and then freeze it once again in the right place. So it's exactly what you were mentioning, Monica, and I remembered it, and I think it's like a super powerful way to see it, especially when you have adults who already have a lot of criteria that they've formed throughout the years, which might be very useful under certain contexts, but it's also might be wrong in other contexts.
Right. So my business partner, Jonathan Peters, he's our chief marketing officer here at Sententia Gamification. He studies Tai Chi and has studied it his whole life. So I might not phrase this exactly right. And he brings in examples from Tai Chi all the time into our, as we're thinking through design. But he talks about, I believe he calls it emptying your cup. Yeah. So like if he works with a, what do you call it? The head guy at a Sifu. If he works with a Sifu or a teacher, which he has numerous, over the years, he's got one that he's working with now that really, it's not that she's so different from all in the past. But her teaching style is very different. And he says what he has to do is he has to empty the cup. Because if he goes in there with, but my Sifu before said this, but my Sifu, it's impossible for him to grow under her teaching without allowing her to fill his cup with her technique and her information. And it's human nature for us to fight against that, right? Yep. We're comfortable with what we have and way we've been doing it, and to be willing to empty the cup and now learn from this new is difficult. But the first step is to say, okay, I am teachable. I do want to learn. I'm open to the ideas that it may not be exactly as I've always assumed it was.
Yeah. Monica, we're almost running out of time, but I don't want to let go before we talk about who should be going to gamification and why those types of people should be going to gamification. So this is basically your message to the engagers as to why they should be going to this conference, which will be very exciting. So I leave it to you, Monica.
Okay, so two things there, two answers to that. I mean, two directions for that. The people who should be coming to me are if you're a business leader of any kind and you lead people, whether you're a manager, leader, business owner, if you're a training director, if you're an instructional designer, project managers, adult educators, facilitators of instructor-led live face-to-face, if you have anything at all to do with employee engagement or adult education and productivity, then to me, you should be there, because gamification is probably your best answer in moving forward for engaging our audience. And Rob and I were talking earlier, and I start getting in my preaching mode. But the one thing we can't forget is that we were hired to do a job. The job we were hired to do is to engage learners so they can do something with that information. Nothing worse for an adult learner to be sitting in a training thinking, what am I going to do with this? This has no relevance in my day-to-day. How is this going to make my work easier? How is this going to help me make more money? How is this going to help me create a real lasting impact for my organization? If they can't answer those questions, they're not really interested in what we're offering them. So we've been hired to deliver in a way that our learners can learn. And it's totally irrelevant if it's not the way we do it here. Because if it needs to be different, then we've got to make that change in order to make it happen. So, it's like I say, the $1 million question is, how are we going to engage our learners? And I think gamification is your best shot. Not only do I think it, there's hard data to back that up. And that's in our sessions on Sunday morning. You'll actually get to experience some of that research that lays a strong foundation for not only is it just this data that's that us telling stories about the successes of gamification. You're going to look at real hard empirical data that proves that it is to start building the foundation. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a place to be at. We'll certainly be waiting for you engagers in Chicago. I hope to get the opportunity to meet you there. Monica, please remind us of the social media where we can find you, the website where we can know more about the conference, and then we'll say it's game over.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so GamiCon.us. Again, you can find the whole schedule out there. And then there is a link that will take you for registration. And it actually takes you off GamiCon because it is co-located with Training Magazine. You will go through their secure registration system to actually register for it. So if you are interested in staying for Training Magazine, you can also access that information. Once you click that registration link, it'll take you over to information about the online learning conference if you want to stay and be a part of that and see Rob in the training test kitchen. You'll have 3 different opportunities to interact with Rob in the training test kitchen at the online learning conference. So it's October 6th through 8 in Chicago, Illinois.
Fantastic. We will see you there. And Monica, by the way, we were talking previously that we will have something special for the people listening to this episode. So if you go to professorgame.com/GamiCon18, that is 18, as in this year, you will be getting something interesting. And I have to say it's a surprise because we will not disclose what we're going to offer there for you if you're going to be interested or going to GamiCon. So that's a bit exciting, I have to say.
Right. That is good. Yes. It'll be a surprise and delight. And you'll be delighted by it.
That's a fundamental thing.
Right. You'll be actually delighted by it. So that's great. Thanks so much, Rob, for giving me the opportunity to come on your podcast. I'm honored to be a guest.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Monica. Your insights are always phenomenal. We were speaking today about the conference, but we also got many gamification insights as well during the speech about the conference. And we will get many more when we meet for the first time in person at Chicago. It will be my first time in Chicago as well. So for me, it's a pretty exciting time, and I hope to see you there, Monica and Engagers.
Thanks so much.
Thanks to you, Monica. It's time to say it's game over. Hey, Engagers, thank you for listening to this podcast to Professor Game. If you want more details of this interview with Monica Cornetti about GamiCon 2018, it's very simple. Just go to professorgame.com/podcast/042. There you will find once again this link that we were talking about with a special surprise for you, the Engagers, in professorgame.com/GamiCon18, like in 18, GAMICON18. That's professorgame.com/GamiCon18. If you go there and follow the instructions, super simple, you will have access to the package of VIP benefits that is already not available for anybody else, just for you, Engagers. So if you're planning on going to Chicago to this conference, please do so through the register link that we will provide there. So hopefully I'll see you in Chicago, and if not, I'll see you as well in the next episode. So see you there.